With every new episode of HBO's The Last of Us, the hype for this show seems to quintuple on and on again. My brother called me and was like, this is the greatest show of all time. You gotta watch it right now. And I'm a fan of the game. I'm a fan of the games. Yes, I even like The Last of Us Part 2, controversy and all. And I was right there hoping, praying for this show's success. And now that it's here, I kind of had a couple of mixed feelings about it. That was until episode 3. Episode 3 saved this show for me. Some people are going to be thinking, what? This show was great from the very beginning. And I do agree with that, but I'll go into more depth here. A lot of people are saying the television version of The Last of Us is the greatest video game adaptation of all times. I don't know how many side-by-side comparisons I've seen. The show, the game, they're using exact dialogue. That's what a perfect adaptation is. And I've never really agreed with that mindset. I remember I made a point on the live-action Mulan movie where when that movie came out, people were saying, oh, it doesn't have the songs. It doesn't have this. It doesn't have this from the original. It doesn't have this. And I've always made the point with any recreation, adaptation, remake, future installment. If I just wanted to re-experience those feelings again, I would just go back to the original. If I just wanted to watch Mulan, if I just wanted to hear the songs from Mulan, I would just watch the original. I don't need a shitty remake to do bad covers of what I originally liked. Shout out to The Lion King. And I know there's gonna be a lot of people saying like, oh, it was much more in depth. The whole first day with Sarah was completely different. They added all this lore and blah, blah, blah. I'm not trying to say that these properties are exactly the same. I'm trying to say that the game, in a smaller amount of time, accomplished more than the show. And that first episode of The Last of Us was super emotional for a lot of people. To be honest, for me, it didn't hit as hard as the game did. Like, I heard a lot of people saying like, oh, they nailed the truck scene. The camera is in the truck. It looks just like the game. It's perfect. In the game, you're playing as Sarah. You move the camera around as Sarah. And it's just that little touch of interactivity where you are that character. And until she dies, you are Sarah. The entire opening act of the game, you are Sarah. You are a beacon of innocence, and the moment she dies, you are in a terrible, terrible world. And the story, like what's on paper, even the shot composition, all that stuff, it's still great. But there are certain things that The Last of Us does well because it is a video game. And when I see things get adapted into other mediums, I want to see what The Last of Us TV show can do in a TV drama that the games can't do. And that's what I kept telling people, and as if just to shut me up, episode 3 did something that the game just couldn't do. It took one of the side characters who, I'll be honest, I barely remembered Bill. It's been like a decade since I played The Last of Us. I remembered Bill. I didn't remember the part about Frank. I didn't remember most of his character. But remember how I said in the first episode the game accomplished more in a smaller amount of time? But now the TV drama, now given the opportunity to do more with more time, accomplishes so much more. Not to mention, a video game is paced very differently than a TV drama. There is one action scene in this episode, and other than that, it is a very character-focused romance story, and I don't think the game could have pulled off an hour-and-a-half romance side quest. As interesting as an endeavor as that would have been, I don't think it could have pulled it off. As far as the story goes, Joel and Ellie make a pit stop where they collect supplies from their buddy Bill, they get a car, they keep going. That's the progress of the story. And at this point in the story, it's becoming clear that the game and the show have very different themes. For me, one of the big themes of the game was survival. Joel, he loses everything. And slowly but surely, he loses himself until he meets Ellie. And in order to hold on to her, he is willing to fuck up the entire human race. That theme of survival is literally in the title of the game, The Last of Us, the people who are cruel and manipulative enough to survive at any means cost, aside from Ellie, who represents the future, who represents hope. She was born in confinement. She doesn't know what's out there. She was born after everything went bad. She's completely innocent until the end of the game, where she does try to do the right thing, but Joel takes that from her. And we see in The Last of Us Part 2 where she is pretty much forced to become one of these people. But just those themes of survival at any cost is very much tied into Bill's character. Because of how obsessed he was with preserving his life and keep going on, he didn't preserve his relationship, and thus it ended. Thus it ended with Frank killing himself. It's a much more bleak tone, whereas the show is definitely trying to have a much more hopeful theme. They're trying to make the characters a little bit more likable. Joel is on this quest now to find Tommy, whereas in the game, he's like searching for guns. Again, he's just trying to survive. And we see that very clearly with Bill and Frank, where these characters, instead of holding on to the last straws of life, they chose the way they went out. And instead of focusing on how grim their situation was, they could have really made it a very sad story, but instead, final shot, instead of panning to their skeletons, it is an open window in their bedroom, potentially the last thing they ever saw. This episode basically hit every single check mark of what I want for adaptations, which is, if it's a different medium, I want it to do things exclusively that medium can only do. I want the story to reflect the original, but bring new ideas to the table, keep me guessing, and, most importantly, just be good. Be a good story. Are you kidding? This episode slapped, which I should probably get to that part. Yeah, this episode was really good. It's probably one of the best romance stories in such a short period that I've ever seen. It was cute. You kidding me? Frank and Bill in the garden picking strawberries. Cute. That's cute. It is still kind of sad that there can't be like a wholesome, cute relationship between two men and the internet can't just digest it like a normal fucking community. It has to be like a woke agenda. It has to be corny. It has to be all these things. But if you just swapped the gender of either or both of these characters, I doubt we'd be having this conversation. So yeah, The Last of Us Episode 3 sent me down a thought spiral, and I want to do more like quick little videos like this in between my bigger videos where I just word vomit into the camera and have a conversation with you guys. Please, I encourage you guys always to comment. The more I can hear from you, the more my days are blessed and my erections are strong. If you're a fan of The Last of Us, that means you're probably a fan of video games, which means you should go down into the description, hit the link to my Twitch. You can follow me over on twitch.tv/YoBoySoul. Some godforsaken person took the A out of my name. I have to switch to an O. Ugh, I couldn't even say it, an O. But yeah, over on Twitch, I stream a lot of games. We watch some fun stuff. It's a pretty chill time. I'd love to see you there. So that's what I had for today's video. I'll see you in the next one. And with that, I leave you.